Ready? The House will come back to order. Representative Benavides.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. I move for a call of the House and ask that 10 people raise their hands.
A call of the House has been requested. The motion is properly sustained. Will the sergeants please close and lock the doors? Members, push your buttons to indicate your presence. And Mr. Randall, please call the names of those members who are absent. And will the sergeants please locate the members who are missing? Representative Beckman. Representative Catlin. Geithner. Herod. Humphrey. Representative Bockenfeld is excused.
Representatives Geithner, Herod, Humphrey, Melton, Michelson Janae, Mollica, Neville, Van Winkle, Williams. Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker is excused.
Representatives Garnett, Harrod, Michelson Janae, Neville, D. Valdez, Van Winkle.
Sometime I want somebody to play like bingo with their names.
Don't worry about it. You're okay. Just gonna move to call the house be raised.
I move that we raise.
Move to call the house be raised.
Representative Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. I move that the call of the house be raised.
It has been moved that the call be raised. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Oh, well, my goodness, the ayes have it. The call is raised. Members, we are calling a short recess.
The House will come back to order. The next order of business is special orders, second reading of bills. Representative Gray. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Gray will take the chair. Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
This is going to be fun. We got this. The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading a bill at length. Committee amendments are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon the motion of the majority leader, and the code rule is relaxed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 236.
Senate Bill 236 by Senators Garcia and Fenberg, also Representatives Hansen and Becker, concerning the continuation of the Public Utilities Commission in connection with the recommendations contained in the 2010 Census Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies and making an appropriation.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 236, the Appropriations, State Affairs, and Finance Committee reports.
To the Appropriations Report. Representative Hansen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Members, I move L043 to the Appropriations Committee report.
Amendment L043 has been moved and is properly displayed. To the amendment, Representative Hansen.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Members, we made well, let me back up. I made an error in Appropriations Committee, and I am here today to ask for you to allow me to fix it. So when you make a mistake, own it and fix it, and that's what I'd like to do with L043. This simply puts the correct language into the distribution system planning portion of the PUC Sunset Review, and I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Representative Hansen. I will note it is allowable, although not advised, for the Appropriations Chair to make mistakes in the Appropriations Committee. Is there any further discussion on L043? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L043. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. L043 is adopted. Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The Appropriations Committee report is adopted. To the Finance report. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I move L044 to the Finance Committee report.
Amendment L044 has been moved and is properly displayed. To the amendment, Representative Hansen.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Members, we have had a wonderful discussion over the last few days about regional transmission organizations and energy imbalance markets. We're going to cover that a little bit more later on in our discussion. But this amendment fixes the portion that was adopted in the Finance Committee. We don't want to have the same thing in the bill twice, and so we're going to strike it out, and we need to do that to the change we made in the Finance Committee report. So I ask for an aye vote on L044.
Is there any further discussion on L044? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L044 to the Finance Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. L044 is adopted. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L032.
Oh, we still have to pass finance and pass the
Oh,
affairs.
I'm sorry, we still have to pass the Finance Committee report.
That motion is withdrawn. Any further discussion on the Finance Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the Finance Committee report to Senate Bill 236. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The Finance Committee report is adopted. That brings us to the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report.
Any further discussion on the State Affairs Committee report? Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the State Affairs Committee, we clarified that customers are able to generate their own electricity through distributed generation. I thank Representative Valdez for working on that language with us, and I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on the State Affairs Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report to Senate Bill 236. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The State Affairs Committee report, despite the late entry, is adopted. To the bill, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L032.
Amendment L032 has been moved and is properly displayed to the amendment. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. L032 is an amendment that was put on people's desks a day or two ago because it is multi-page. It is what you have seen before in the form of House Bill 1313. There's one change to that, which there was language requested by Pueblo County that we accommodated about making sure that other bonds that might rely on existing
Power assets,
what'd you say?
power plants.
Yeah, existing power plants, that those bonds that rely on that revenue will get paid off. And so with that one change, it's everything you've seen before. We ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on L032? Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just a question, I've kind of read through this, but I know that this is something that we've seen before. Is this just something we've seen before in one bill or two bills? Honest question, just want to make sure.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is House Bill 1313, but with the addition of one thing that I just mentioned to you that was at the request of Pueblo County.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question about adding this amendment is that House Bill 1313 had a pretty significant fiscal note that has not been incorporated into this bill, and I'd like to actually ask the sponsors if there's any way to get that fiscal note taken care of and incorporated. I think we really need to make sure that we know the entire fiscal impact of both bills and not just one bill.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did request a new fiscal note and are happy to provide that. Do you want to go in a brief recess? Because I'm not
Representative
sure.
McKean might want to talk and take some of the time while we get that done.
All right, so I'm trying to remember how, thank you, Mr. Chair, very much. It's such an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with
It
you.
really is. So sponsors, I don't remember how this works. Is it that does the chicken go inside the duck, inside the turkey? Is that how it is? And is there ham involved in this somewhere? Is there a fifth bill or a fourth bill that's in? Are there more bills?
Any poultry-related answers, Representative Hansen?
Yes, we're going to stick with poultry. I appreciate that clarification. Now that you've opened this can of poultry, I think we can safely say this is a turducken. Safely say. So the duck goes in the chicken, goes in the turkey.
I appreciate the clarification. Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since the amendment, I'm still a little confused about where Pueblo was, the request for Pueblo Industry was cut out. So if you could just show me where that is, I'd appreciate it.
No,
It was in an amendment that we previously approved, that Pueblo would be, Industries would be cut out, or they were negotiated out, and so we would charge other areas?
Madam Speaker.
No, thank you. This is just something that Pueblo County caught. If there's a possibility of any coal plant closing, there are that revenue from the coal plant that may be paying in to pay for another county's bonds or COPs, they want to be able to rely on that revenue. If the coal plant closes, they're concerned that that revenue would go away. So it's simply saying that that amount will still be paid off for that portion of the bond that is relying on that revenue. So they just didn't want to be cut short on any potential revenue from a coal plant. So that's what that takes care of.
And so is it,
Representative Beckman.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Would that be for all coal plants?
Madam Speaker.
Yes, that would be for any coal plant.
Thank you.
Further discussion, Mr. Assistant Minority Leader Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just so the body is extremely clear as to what's happening here, is we have before us a 29-page bill, which is a sunset. Caro has the beautiful, wonderful sunset process, which all big programs must come up for a sunset. It has to be reviewed, or else the program simply goes away. And so we in this body pass sunset continuation bills and to continue those going. But in the process, we typically look and we tweak and we change this, we move this over there. We just improve upon, you take advantage of that process to improve upon it slightly. What we're doing with this amendment, however, is coming up with something brand new, a 30-page bill that is completely separate. So here's the bill we're debating, here's a different bill that's 30 pages, and we're taking the 30 pages, adding it to the simple sunset, and taking a very simple sunset to continue the Public Utilities Commission in crafting new additional language, new bills, new programs, and we don't quite know the impacts of that, which is why on this side of the aisle we're starting to ask lots of questions like what are the fiscal impacts of it. I believe a new fiscal note is coming forward soon to tell us what all these new programs and projects will cost the taxpayers of Colorado, and I look forward to that.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And given that the title of the bill does say that this is a sunset bill, I would actually ask for a title ruling to see if this amendment fits under the sunset bill.
Title ruling has been requested. We will stand in a brief recess. Order. The chair rules that the amendment does fall under the title.
It'll get changed.
Any further discussion on Amendment L032?
Wait.
Madam Speaker.
I'm sorry. I also move as an amendment to L032, L045.
Amendment. Go ahead.
And ask that it be displayed.
Amendment L045 as an amendment to L032 has been moved and properly displayed to the amendment. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we have a couple more that will amend this, but L045 is language that expands to more affected communities standing at the Public Utilities Commission while the PUC is considering a clean energy plan. So basically, existing law limits who can get standing at the PUC. This expands the possibility so that more interveners can participate, support or oppose the plan. And so we ask for an aye vote on L045.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L045 to Amendment L032?
We still have more to go.
Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L045. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Amendment L045 is adopted. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L047 to Amendment L032.
Amendment L047 has been moved and is properly displayed. To the amendment, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, and Mr. Chair and members, this amendment does the same cleanup that we did on the Finance Committee report. Because we are addressing RTOs, we don't need to do it multiple times. So this is just to make sure we don't have repetition in the statutes. I know how we all like to be very succinct in our bill writing. This will help us accomplish that goal.
Any further discussion on Amendment L047? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L047 to Amendment L032. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Amendment L047 is adopted. Representative Hansen.
I don't know what this is.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L046 to Amendment L032.
What is it?
Amendment L046 has been moved and is properly displayed to the amendment. Representative Hansen.
Double check with everybody. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And this amendment addresses one of the concerns that was brought up during the debate, both in this chamber and in the other chamber. We wanted to make sure we addressed it in a very clear way. This makes it 100% clear that the utility cannot rate base any transition assistance. So that was a question that came up. We were in a confident place with the original language that that would not happen at the PUC. But to make 100% sure, we are putting that into the statute. There will be no rate-based treatment for any assistance that would come out of the PUC decisions. And I ask for your support of this amendment.
Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I got to dig in a little bit and see how this exactly fits in, but the idea behind this amendment is one that I could support and appreciate.
Any further discussion on L046? Seeing none, the question before us is Amendment L046, which amends L032. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Amendment L046 is adopted. Representative Hansen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that brings us back to the main amendment, which is L032. As was mentioned before, this is a slightly adjusted House Bill 1313 with the amendments that we just adopted, which I think we had a little bit of extra time, so we made some adjustments that I think really improve the approach, give clear direction to the PUC, protect customer interests as the top priority in managing this transition, and I ask for your support of L032 as amended.
Any further discussion on L032? Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also ask for a title ruling.
The chair has already ruled on there was a title ruling requested on L032. I ruled that. Would you like a recess? I'm happy to explain it again. Oh, the committee will stand in brief recess. Committee will come back to order. All right, that brings us to L032. Any further discussion on L032? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L032 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. L032 is adopted. That brings us back to the bill. Representative Hansen.
Thank you very much, and members, appreciate your indulgence and patience as we work through some of these amendments. We're almost there. The adjustments that we've made over the last few days of intense stakeholder work. And with that, Mr. Chair, I move Amendment L041 to the bill.
Amendment L041 has been moved and is properly displayed to the amendment. Representative Hansen.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Chair, members, a version of this was actually on your desks a couple days ago under Representative Sandridge's name. I really appreciate a chance to have further conversation with Representative Sandridge as well as many of the stakeholders involved on all sides of this issue. This is a wonderful step forward for us with this amendment. This provides a clear roadmap for moving forward on transmission planning in the state. One of the keys to keep costs low for our constituents is to make sure that we have adequate interconnection to the grid, both our neighbors really in every direction, north, south, east, and west. If we do a better job of that, that means we can do a better job of sharing resources, and that's exactly what this amendment is going to provide, a clear set of directions to the PUC to proceed with that work, and I ask for your support of Amendment 41.
Representative McKean.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So I can't support what I don't know. And what I don't know is what's different between 38 and 41. This amendment has not been put on my desk. This is the only place I'm getting to see it. Mr. Chair, could we ask for a recess while we get copies of this amendment to everyone?
The committee will stand in a brief recess. come back to order. Question before us at the moment is L041, Representative McKean.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I've looked this over. I needed to go a little deeper into it. I really want to thank the sponsors for making sure that we get this. I really want to thank our staff for working so hard to get this out to us, because we've got to be able to see what we're working on. And so thank you very much.
Any further discussion on L041? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L041 to Senate Bill 236. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. L041 is adopted. Representative Hansen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And members, again, thank you for your attention and patience. We are on the final amendment that the sponsors would like to offer. I move L039.
Amendment L039 has been moved and is properly displayed to the amendment. Representative Hansen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, one of the interesting aspects of the electricity industry in Colorado is that we have two investor-owned utilities that are under PUC jurisdiction. We have a number of other operators, G&Ts, not gin and tonic, generation and transmission, co-ops, municipal utilities, a number of different types of electricity companies in the state. And what we'd like to do with this amendment is to bring the generation and transmission company, the biggest one in the state you're probably familiar with, into the process of planning for the electricity resource planning. And this is, we think, really vital for us to be able to manage and efficiently manage the system as a whole. This gives the PUC the ability to move forward with this. We've done a lot of stakeholder work again in the last week to get agreement on this from everyone that will be impacted by this change. We think this is a wonderful way, again, to continue to drive efficiency, careful planning in the overall system, and that ultimately results in lower costs for our constituents. Continuing the theme that we've tried to emphasize in each of the different measures that are contained now in this bill. And so I ask for your support of Amendment 39.
Any further discussion on Amendment L039? Representative McKee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I have a question about this, and again, we're on the fly. We're taking a look at it. Let's just actually read this a little, because my question is kind of consistent with the other questions I've had on many of these bills and many of these conversations. And so what we're saying is they want to be able to have and evaluate an integrated electric resource plan. Almost all of them have that already and have submitted it. Is this requiring approval of that plan? And then let's move down a little bit and just say, are we now saying that the resource plan is going to be either accepted or validated or denied on the energy policy goals of the state? When you say that, what is the effect of that if it does not meet the energy goals of the state?
Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative McKean, that is a wonderful question. So to further clarify, this amendment pertains to only wholesale electric cooperatives. So it's, in Colorado's case, there is only one of those that exists right now. And we would like to, with this amendment, bring them into what's referred to as the ERP process, Electricity Resource Planning. That allows the commission to look at their overall investment structure, their portfolio, how that portfolio will change over time to meet the demand of their customers, and to look at that in the overall context of what's happening in the state. And we feel like that can actually really help drive overall efficiency and produce cost savings for customers. So that's the intent of this. We have agreement from that operator that they would like to be a part of this. And so we'd ask for your support of the amendment.
Representative Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have a question about this as well. I know right now only investor-owned utility companies are under the regulation of the Public Utilities Commission. This is putting a piece of something a larger cooperative does. Does this hold any smaller cooperatives who eventually want to be a part of that ERP process to having to get the authority from the PUC even though they're not regulated by them?
Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To make sure I understood the question, are you talking about companies other than the wholesale G&T? So they would not have feel any impact from this amendment at all?
Representative Esgar.
And just to clarify, the wholesale electric cooperative that you've been talking to is fine with having this type of authority over them on this piece?
Any further discussion on L039? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L039 to Senate Bill 236. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. L039 is adopted. Brings us back to the bill. Representative Hansen.
All right, thank you so much again, Mr. Chair and members. Again, thank you for your kind attention. I know there was a number of items we need to move through there. That is the end of the amendments we would like to ask you to consider, and I look forward to the debate on the now amended bill.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for your patience. Obviously, we don't want the PUC to sunset. This is an important bill to pass, but we think we've made important improvements to the resource planning, distribution planning, the ability of utilities that want to participate in clean energy plans, our overall review of how we consider carbon in any of resource development, and there's also a small piece about booting that I think is very important. So with that, I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 236? Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And by the way, I did get, for the record, I did get a new draft of a revised fiscal note that incorporated the at least L32, which was the largest amendment that we adopted. And I wanted to thank the sponsors for thinking ahead and for making sure that we would have a draft of that available during second reading debate. But with that, I do have to mention that there are some general fund impacts which are new that were not in the original fiscal note or any of the revisions for Senate Bill 236. So the revised fiscal note also has general fund impacts, and with that, it has not. This fiscal note for this bill has not been through the Appropriations Committee yet, and with that, I move that we take this bill back to Appropriations Committee to make sure that the Appropriations Committee has a chance to review the fiscal impact of this bill.
Thank you, Representative Ransom. Is your motion to refer this bill back to the Appropriations Committee? The motion is to refer the bill back to the Appropriations Committee. To the Chair of the Appropriations Committee, Representative Christian.
Thank you. As much as I would, Mr. Chair, as much as I would like to reconvene the Appropriations Committee, members, I would ask for a no vote on this motion. We have considered each part of this bill already. It does not need additional consideration. The fiscal note is clear in how these pieces have been brought together, and so I ask for a no vote on this motion.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And while I do recognize that the sponsor of this bill is also the chair of the Appropriations Committee, and I do thank him for his work on that committee, we still need to look at the impact of this bill individually. Just because we've seen parts of it in other bills, i.e. House Bill 1313, we've seen parts of the impact there, and then parts of it here in Senate Bill 233. By merging them together, we are creating a different combined set of legislation and combined fiscal note. As the chair knows, we can have appropriations here in the well. We can have it right here. It won't take long. I do recognize that we would need to wait a little bit of time to get the canary sheets from our JBC staff to make sure that we have the exact fiscal impact in the correct order. But again, we can meet here in the chamber, and appropriations can have just a very quick meeting here. But again, it gives us a chance to look at the paperwork, look at the notes, the assessment, and the evaluation by the Ledge Council or JBC staff, and we can see exactly how this fits into our current and what is left of the general fund that we still have available to spend. So with that, I renew my motion and do ask that we can send this bill to appropriations.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I ask for a brief recess.
Committee will stand in recess. committee will come back to order. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At Representative Ransom's request, she would like the Appropriations Committee to meet. So we will have the fiscal note finalized. That will then have to generate a new canary. After all of that is done, the Appropriations Committee will meet in the well. So while we are waiting for that, we will put second reading on hold, go to third readings and do additional work because it's probably going to take an hour. So we're just trying to accommodate Representative Ransom. So, and I see Majority Leader Garnett here now. Thank you. Just a minute. Ask for a brief recess.
So we'll play it over as amended. I mean, I think we can. Do we vaguely just sit again, or do we need to keep second reading? The committee will stand in a brief recess. I think I have to say yes to the motion to refer to a that has to pass. Then you rise. Then we rise. We've got a bunch. Yeah. Refer to our proposals amended, and I don't think we have to leave this sitting again because there's nothing else left on the. There's nothing. The committee will come back to order. The motion before us is the motion to send Senate Bill 236 back to refer Senate Bill 236 to the Appropriations Committee from the Committee of the Whole. Is there any further discussion on that motion? The motion before us is the motion to refer Senate Bill 236 as amended from the Committee of the Whole to the Committee on Appropriations. Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the Speaker of the House and the Chair of Appropriations Committee for undertaking serious consideration on this motion. I very much appreciate it. It gives the whole body to see exactly what we've done here. There's been a lot of amendments passed on second reading, and it's very much appreciated to give us time to understand what exactly we would be voting on. So thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? The motion before us, to be perfectly clear for everybody listening, is to refer Senate Bill 236 as amended, which means with all of the amendments that have already occurred within the Committee of the Whole today, to the Committee on Appropriations for further consideration. We'd be sending it from this committee to the Committee on Appropriations with all the amendments that have already occurred to this point. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is adopted. That exhausts the second reading calendar, the special orders calendar. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
At the request of the Majority Leader, the committee will rise and report, seeing no objection. No problem.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under its consideration the following types of substituting the regular organizations thereon. Senate Bill 236, as amended, is re-referred to the Committee on Appropriations.
Representative Gray.
Madam Speaker, I move the House adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole.
You have heard the motion, and members, just to be clear about what we're doing, all the report does is indicate that we've referred the bill back to the Committee on Appropriations per the request of Representative Ransom. It adopts the bill not final, it's just as amended. And so with that, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Benavidez, Caraveo, Catlin, Coleman, Humphrey, Lontine, Melton. Representative Coleman, please vote. We'll excuse the others, and then I think we're going to do some other work. Oh, there's one more.
Oh, there's the other one.
Please close the machine. With 49 aye votes, 14 no votes, and 2 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments to House bills.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments to House bills. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1076.
House Bill 1076 by Representatives Michelson, Janay, and Larson, also Senators Priola and Donovan, concerning updates to the Colorado Clean Indoor Air Act and in connection with removing certain exceptions and adding provisions relevant to the use of electronic smoking devices.
Representative Michelson, Janay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My esteemed colleague and I move to concur with Senate amendments.
Yes.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, the Senate actually did catch a little mistake that we made in sending over 1076. Turns out we do want the new signage requirements for prohibiting underage people from entering places where smoking products can be consumed. The bill we sent over would ban them from going into cigar bars, but would not bar them from going into cigar lounges. This was not intended. This was a drafting error, and the Senate did find our error, so humbly, we ask that you concur in the Senate amendment to 1076.
The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1076. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Byrd, Bockenfeld, Carver, McKean. Please close the machine. With 56 aye votes, 7 no votes, and 2 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1076 is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1076 as amended.
The motion before us is the repassage of House Bill 1076 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 46 aye votes, 17 no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1076 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1242.
House Bill 1242 by Representatives Jackson and Jaquez Lewis, also Senators Winter and Tate, concerning the regulation of pharmacy technicians by the State Board of Pharmacy in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1242.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1242. I'm sorry, the question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1242. Representative Jaquez Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We want our drugs safe. Let's make certification real. The Senate change is minor. Concur, we will.
Okay. The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1242. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Galindo, Gonzalez Gutierrez, Lontine, Buck. Please close the machine. With 46 aye votes, 17 no votes, and 2 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1242 is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1242 as amended.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1242 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Benavides, Escar, Larson, Sane, Soper. Please close the machine. With 43 aye votes, 20 no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1242 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1174. Oh, Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over House Bill 1174, one bill on the consideration of Senate amendments to House Bills calendar.
Seeing no objection, that bill will be laid over one bill. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1237.
House Bill 1237 by Representatives Cutter and Will, also Senators Woodward and Janal, concerning licensing behavioral health entities in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Cutter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm happy to sponsor this bill with my friend Representative Will.
Which will bring all licensing together in one place, making it all better.
Called an umbrella, but not because it's raining, lets people with all kinds of training
Be licensed by CDPHE so behavioral health specialists would be easy to see, making Colorado the leader in the nation, and all accomplished without post-certification.
Senate wants to add half an FTE. The benefit we can surely see. So we're definitely sure on our vote to concur, and we hope that you all can agree.
Beautifully done. Now you just have to move it.
We move to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1237.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1237. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote.
Oh, yeah, gotta vote.
Snyder. Please close the machine. With 50 aye votes and 13 no votes and 2 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1237 is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1237 as amended.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1237 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 51 aye votes and 12 no votes, 1237 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. That brings us back to House Bill 1174. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1174.
House Bill 1174 by Representatives Esgar and Catlin, also Senators Gardner and Pedersen, concerning out-of-network health care services provided to covered persons and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we move to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1174.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If you remember back when we first started talking about the out-of-network bill here in this House, we explained the impressive stakeholder process we went through. And we talked about all the different amendments that we were working on to try to make sure that this bill truly looked out for the consumer and held the consumer harmless in this state. We have accomplished that. And when the bill left the House, we promised to continue to be open to conversations and stakeholder processes. So there were amendments put on in the Senate to reflect just that. I can go into some detail, but one of the main concerns that we heard about was the benchmark for physicians. I'm happy to say that we were able to come to some conversations, and we moved our benchmark for the physicians, and it may not be exactly where everybody wanted it to be, but we found a way through to really negotiate and earn support from our members. And I am proud to say that we were able to move forward on this bill. It passed the Senate 31-4. It passed the House 60-4. And I'm hoping that I can continue to count on this body to support this bill and agree with the concurrence.
Representative Catlin.
It's a pleasure to serve with you, Madam Speaker.
And also with you, Representative Catlin.
Thank you. There'll be no poem from Nome today, so I would suggest that we vote to concur. This is going to do some good for people in the state of Colorado, for rural Colorado particularly, but from what I hear, it's in the urban area too. This is something we can do, and we can do it this year. This is the year. Please vote yes.
Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we do a lot of amazing policy work in this building. And I truly believe this is a piece of policy that has been worked on for years. Some people back as far as 12 years ago started working on this issue. We have come forward with a solution, and that's exactly what this bill is. It's a bill you can go back and talk about and be proud that you were a part of. Please help us concur and vote for repassage as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1174. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Humphrey and Jackson, please close the machine. With 60 aye votes and 3 no votes and 2 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1174 is passed. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1174 as amended.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1174 as amended. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Carver, Geithner, Lontine, please close the machine. With 54 aye votes and 9 no votes and 2 excused, House Bill 1174 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1279.
House Bill 1279 by Representatives Exum and Landgraf, also Senators Lee and Heisey, concerning the use of perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl substances, and in connection there with making an appropriation.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Senate made some changes, just a very few. We gladly accept these changes. Oh yes, we gladly do. To protect our drinking water, we will capitulate to the Senator's amendment at this late time and date. We've run out the calendar. Our remaining hours are few, so please accept our offer so my constituents won't sue. I've actually, I've never done this, so I'll step over here and be Representative Exum and move that we accept the amendments to House Bill 1279. Is that the right motion?
Sure.
Close enough.
We've got to make sure.
Concur. The question before us, okay. The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1279. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Benavidez Humphrey, please close the machine. With 63 aye votes, no votes, and 2 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1279 as amended.
The motion before us is to repass House Bill 1279 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Baisley, Byrd, Buenteo. Please close the machine. With 63 aye votes, no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1279 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Majority Leader Garnett. Should we go ahead and do 1085? Okay. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1085.
House Bill 1085 by Representative Exum, also Senator Zenzinger, concerning the property-related expense assistance grants for low-income seniors and individuals with disabilities in connection with making an appropriation.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 1085.
The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1085. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Catlin Jaquez Lewis. Please close the machine. With 41 aye votes, 22 no votes, and 2 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1085 is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1085 as amended.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1085 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Please close the machine. With 43 aye votes, 20 no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1085 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1002.
House Bill 1002 by Representatives McLaughlin and Wilson, all Senators Zenzinger and Priola, concerning professional development and leadership of public school principals and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that we concur with the Senate's Baisley's for Profit proposition alteration to 10002.
Please proceed. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Baisley in committee had talked about opening up the opportunity for contracting with for-profit as well as non-profit, and evidently he got to some of the senators when they weren't napping, and they did put this on in the revised bill on page 4, lines 22 to 25. The Senate broadened the definition of entity to include a nonprofit entity or a public or private institution of higher education, and I would urge an aye vote.
Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you. I also urge an aye vote.
The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1002. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Please close the machine. With 53 aye votes, 10 no votes, and 2 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1002 is passed. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1002 on as amended.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1002 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Humphrey and Will, please close the machine. With 51 aye votes, 12 no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1002 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1230.
House Bill 1230 by Representatives Singer and Melton, also Senators Marvel and Gonzalez, concerning marijuana hospitality establishments and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So a few weeks ago, scientists took pictures of the first black hole. With 200 scientists, they used all this expensive equipment. I think it would have been cheaper and easier if they just took a picture of the other chamber. So at risk of not losing a bill in the Senate, I move to concur with Senate Bill 1230.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the Senate did a couple of things to make sure we had concurrence with Senate Bill 224, which is the marijuana sunset. So a lot of technicalities, and for the love of God, please just don't send us back over there.
The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1230. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Benavidez, Duran, Kipp. Please close the machine. With 48 aye votes, 15 no votes, and 2 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1230 is passed. Majority Leader Garnett. No, that was, we have to repass.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Sorry for questioning you. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1230 as amended.
The question before us is to repass House Bill 1230 as amended. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Snyder and Valdez, please close the machine. With 41 aye votes, 22 no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1230 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for consideration of third reading of bills, final passage.
We will, seeing no objection, will proceed out of order for consideration of third reading of bills. I'm not sure where we are. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 233.
House Bill 233 by Senator Lee, also Representatives Snyder and Gray, concerning combined reporting by a corporation for Colorado state income tax purposes.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 233 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 233 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 39 aye votes, 24 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 233 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 235.
Senate Bill 235 by Senator Spenberg and Danielson, also Representatives Eskar and Mollica, concerning the transfer of electronic records by voter registration agencies in order to register voters in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 235 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 235 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 23 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 235 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 246.
239.
Oh, 239. Sorry, 239.
Senate Bill 239 by Senators Winter and Bridges, also Representatives Gray and Hansen, concerning means of addressing impacts of technological and business model change related to commercial vehicles and any connection with requiring the tripartite transportation to convene and consult with the stakeholder group to examine impacts of new transportation technologies and business models and identifying means of addressing impacts and reporting findings and making recommendations to the General Assembly.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 239 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 239 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Benavidez, please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 23 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 239 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over Senate Bill 246 till the end of the third reading calendar.
Seeing no objection, Senate Bill 246 will be laid over till the end of the third reading calendar. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 150.
Senate Bill 150 by Senators Donovan and Sonnenberg, also Representatives Monteo and Pelton, concerning the continuation of the regulation of public livestock markets and in connection with the recommendations contained in the 2018 Census Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 150 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 150 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Shoo. Beckman, McKean, Tipper, Van Winkle, please close the machine. With 61 aye votes, 2 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 150 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 73.
Senate Bill 73 by Senator Janal, also Representatives Landgraf and Roberts, concerning a statewide system of advanced medical directives in connection with the banking and appropriation.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 73 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 73 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Representative Will, please close the machine. With 54 aye votes, 9 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 73 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 260.
Senate Bill 260 by Senators Zenzinger and Cook, also Representatives Tipper and Larson, concerning entry into the Fire and Police Pension Association for Social Security employers.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 260 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 260 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Benavidez, please close the machine. With 63 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 260 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 215.
Senate Bill 215 by Senator Rodriguez, also Representative Lantin, concerning the creation of the Parents Encouraging Parents Conference for parents of children with disabilities in connection with making an appropriate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 215 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 215 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Buck, Kraftthorpe, McKean, Tipper, Valdez. Please close the machine. With 42 aye votes, 21 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 215 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 234.
Senate Bill 234 by Senators Rodriguez and Foote, also Representative Weissman, concerning continuation of the functions of professional review committees in connection with the recommendations contained in the 20 instances are appropriate of the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 234 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 234 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Baisley and Catlin, please close the machine. With 62 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 234 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 261.
Senate Bill 261 by Senators Marino and Cook, also Representatives Zeskar and Will, concerning the transfer of money from the Unclaimed Property Trust Fund to the General Fund.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 261 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 261 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Harrod and Soper, please close the machine. With 55 aye votes, 8 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 261 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 262.
Senate Bill 262 by Senators Rankin and Zenzinger, also Representatives Zeskar and Ransom, concerning a one-time transfer of $100 million from the general fund to the Highway Users Tax Fund.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 262 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 262. Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Harrod, Humphrey, Kennedy, Tipper. Please close the machine. With 63 aye votes, no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 262 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 263.
Senate Bill 263 by Senators Zenzinger and Rankin, also Representatives Gray and Hansen. Concerning the delay until the November 2020 general election and requiring that a ballot issue seeking approval for the issues of transportation revenue anticipated to submit to the voters of the state of November 2018 statewide election in connection with amending the ballot issue to reduce the amount of notes authorized to be issued to offset the additional transportation fine that will result from the repeal of only 2 rather than 3 changes in these proposed agreements authorized Senate Bill 7267. The ballot issue is repealed and extending from 21 to 20 years, the period for which annual $50 million charges from the general fund and the statewide fund are required.
Yeah. He holds up the one breath, guys. Majority Leader Garnett.
Well done, Mr. Randall. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 263 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 263 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Benavides, McKean. Please close the machine. With 49 aye votes, 14 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 263 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 249.
Senate Bill 249 by Senators Gonzalez and Scott, also Representatives Benavides and Buckenfeld, concerning the licensing of a business selling used motor vehicles to the business used for its purposes in connection with the appropriation.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 249 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 249 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Catlin, Escar, Gonzalez Gutierrez, Landgraf, Sandridge, Lontine, and Tipper. Please close the machine. With 5961 aye votes and 2 no votes and 2 excused, Senate Bill 249 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 249. House Bill 1162.
House Bill 1162 by Representatives Pelton and Valdez, DL, Senator Sonderberg, concerning the extension of the state sales and use tax exemption for farm equipment to ear tags and ear tag scanners used by farm operation to identify or track food animals.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1162 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1162 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 63 aye votes, no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1162 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 96. Oh, Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for immediate consideration of Senate Bill 259.
We will proceed out of order for immediate consideration of Senate Bill 259. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 259. It's on page 2.
Senate Bill 259 by Senators Garcia and Heisey, also Representatives Harrod and Wilson, concerning measures to address prison population management issues in connection with authorizing the emergency use of the Centennial South Campus of the Centennial Correctional Facility to house inmates.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 259 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 259 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Representative Buck, please close the machine. With 58 aye votes, 5 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 259 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the third reading of bills calendar until later today.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar on third reading will be laid over till later today. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we're going to keep working, but everyone's been sitting in their chairs for a long time, so I move that we take a brief 5-minute recess to allow people to stretch and use the restroom.
The House will be in recess for about 5 minutes. House will come back to order. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I'll give you a quick update on what we can expect at least for the next little bit. We're just going one little bit at a time. We are going to proceed out of order for consideration of a resolution about when session will start next year. That's when you know you're getting close to seeing a DA. Then we're going to do 2 conference reports quickly, and then Approps is going to meet, and then we're going to come back to do special orders. And then at that point, I'll leave it up to Representative Wilson and others about Hummers, and then we'll go from there. Does that sound like a plan? So with that, Madam Speaker, I move to proceed out of order for immediate consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 9.
The House will proceed out of order for consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 009. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 009.
Senate Joint Resolution 9 by Senators Svenberg and Holbert, also Representatives Garnett and Neville, concerning the convening date for the 2020 second regular session of the 72nd General Assembly in connection with restoring the deadline schedule set out in the joint rules of the Senate and the House of Representatives.
Minority Leader Neville.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. I move SJR 009.
Please proceed.
Members, this just sets the dates for the for the next session, and I urge yes vote.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We were going to have it on January 1st, but we decided that it would be better if we put it on a Wednesday again, like it has been traditionally. So the date will be Wednesday, January 8th, 2020, will be opening day, and then the other deadlines will be built around that date.
Thank you. I would open up the machine, but I'm not going to do that because I think you guys might actually vote no on this resolution. So all those in favor of Senate Joint Resolution 009 say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion passes. Do you want me to open up the machine for co-sponsors?
Nah, Madam Speaker, well, let's see. People can object, but I would move that today's roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Then I have to open up the machine for co-sponsors. Mr. Randall, please open the machine.
Yeah, you could. We could remove our names as co-sponsors.
So is there anything else we can do?
No problem. No problem.
Please close the machine. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So members, two quick things. One, the conference committee reports that we were going to act upon aren't ready yet because the Senate has to act on them first because they're House bills. Two, somebody left this around, and if it's yours, it's Hugh's. Oh, never mind about that. I'm just joking. We'll give it back to Hugh if that's his. And so then, Madam Speaker, then I would move for announcements and introductions.
Are there any announcements and introductions? And we're just waiting for the canary for the Appropriations Committee to be ready. So announcements and introductions. Representative Hooton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is neither an announcement or an introduction, but it is a little concerning that there has been a crock pot sitting in the breakout room for the past 48 hours, and it still has a little chili in it, but it's sitting actually on top of a radiator, so it continues to percolate. So if anyone is missing a crock pot or has forgotten about their crock pot, if you would please retrieve it and clean it from the break room, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon. On your desk, 3 times in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we have put a notice about our ag tour that we're going to be having on June 1st, and I just wanted to explain it a little bit. You're more than welcome to join us, and several of you have told me you're going to come, and it's great. It's going to be on June 1st. We're going to start here, and the people that live along here can join us here on the east side of the Capitol and go towards Lyman, south. We're going to eat lunch in Chirac. We're going to tour the Colorado Seeds. We're going to visit with working ranchers and farmers. And then we're going to travel south and talk to more ranchers, more cattle producers. And then we're going to have cowboy singing at campsite with Representative Wes McKinley. So he's going to be there, and a good friend of his, and you can camp out there. I have 10 motel rooms blocked in La Junta at the Hampton or the Holiday Inn, and you're welcome to use one of those if you don't want to stay at the ranch or at the campsite. You're all welcome. Welcome all. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lewis. That's the entire one? Okay. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a quick announcement. Hummers will be tomorrow. I know. It wasn't my decision. But it will be after, in the morning, upon completion of third reading of bills. I would anticipate tomorrow that we don't have a ton of work in the morning, but as things come over from the Senate and people decide whether or not to go to conference committee or to concur, that will actually dictate much of how tomorrow flows. So with that,
I think we need a brief recess until the canary is up. We do have the unofficial pre-amended version of the bill 236. So if anyone wants a copy, we can make it. Otherwise, it's just available at Marilyn's desk. And with that, the House will stand in a brief recess until the Appropriations Committee is ready to meet.
I'll make an announcement.
What?
May I use the microphone?
What'd you say?
May I use the microphone?
Oh, sure. Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues that have your items for Hummers, don't lose those. Those are your copies. And this is happening earlier in the morning, so be ready.
Appropriations Committee will come to order. Ms. Beisel, please call the roll.
Representatives Burke.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read reports of committees of reference.
Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the merits, the committee recommends following Senate Bill 236 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole of Favor recommendation. Committee on Finance, after consideration of the merits, the committee following Senate Bill 257 be referred to the Committee of the Whole of Favor recommendation.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for immediate consideration of Senate Bill 5 on third reading and final passage calendar.
Mr. Randall, please, we will move to proceed out of order for consideration of Senate Bill 5. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 5. It's on page 2.
Senate Bill 5 by Senators Rodriguez and Janal, also Representative Jaquez Lewis, concerning wholesale importation of prescription pharmaceutical products from Canada to resale to Colorado residents in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to maybe speak slowly as members continue to come back in, but I move. Are we coming? We're ready?
We're ready.
Great. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 5 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Jaquez Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. At risk of the groans, I'm hoping, because I have a special, this one is a special third reading amendment, we would like to request a name change. So I move. Ask for permission.
You asked for permission for a third reading amendment.
Yes.
Members, could we please have some quiet in the chamber?
It's third.
I move. Did you do say I move?
I move amendment.
No, I move.
I request a third reading amendment.
I move to request a third reading amendment.
Yes, I move to request a third reading amendment.
Please proceed.
Yes, we would like to change the name of Senate Bill 5 to the Dr. Irene Aguilar Canadian Prescription Drug Importation Act. And if I might, Madam Speaker, former state senator and Dr. Irene Aguilar served in the Colorado Senate from January 2011 to January 2019. Before she was a legislator, Governor Romer appointed her to the Board of Medical Examiners, on which she served for 8 years. She was a vice chair of the Business and Labor Committee on Health and Human Services, Local Government and Energy Committees. She served on the Colorado Developmental Disabilities Council and Vulnerable Populations Task Force for the Blue Ribbon Commission. Dr. Aguilar served as a physician at Denver Health's Westside Community Health Center. She started the program to integrate primary care and substance use therapy into primary care settings. Senator Aguilar was a tireless advocate trying to solve the health care disparities in communities of color and low-income populations. She helped make Colorado more secure by addressing our 911 system. She currently serves on Denver Health and Hospital Authority Board of Directors, where she serves as second vice chair. This bill honors her as a great champion of health care for all in Colorado.
Representative Lontine.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I watched Senator Aguilar attempt to run this bill last year, and I know that she ran this bill from the heart, and the heart of making prescription medication more affordable to the people that needed it. And that's been the heart of her since I have known her. I met Dr. Senator Aguilar, I'm not quite sure when. It's been over 10 years. I remember when the opening for the state Senate, for Senate District 32, was going through a vacancy committee, and she asked me if she should run, and I said yes, and I want to help you. And we've been on a journey together down here at the legislature ever since. And I can tell you honestly that I would not be here today if it wasn't for Senator Aguilar. And everything that she did was to help people lead a healthy life. And this is a further testament to the work that she did down here. And I, along with Senator Rodriguez, who's not able to be here, as the Senate is doing some work, so we should all be grateful for that. But we thought it would be a great idea, and looped in Representative Jaquez Lewis, and she loved it too, to name this bill after her. So I asked for an aye vote because she's awesome. Thank you.
That is so sweet. Okay, the question before us is the motion to concur, or I'm sorry, is the motion for permission to offer a third reading amendment. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Herod and Sane. Representatives Herod and Sane are excused. Please close the machine. With 39 aye votes, 23 no votes, and 3 excused, the motion for a third reading amendment is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move L27.
The motion before us is to amend Senate Bill 005 with Amendment L027. Did I see that right? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 39 aye votes, 23 no votes, and 3 excused, L027 is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 005 as amended on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the repassage of Senate Bill 005 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members, please vote. Malika. Please close the machine. With 41 aye votes, 22 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 5 is passed as amended. Co-sponsors. Thank you, Senator Aguilar, for joining us today. Please close the machine. Representatives Harrod and Sane, that's a $3 fine. Each. Yeah. I have a piece of advice. Don't have Representative McKean do your negotiating. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for special orders, and I move that we create a special orders calendar on Thursday, May 2nd at 4:26 p.m. of the following bill, Senate Bill 236.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for special orders, and a special orders calendar will be made at 4:26 p.m. at the request of the Majority Leader. Representative Gray. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Gray will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for a reading of bill at length. Committee amendments are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon the request of Majority Leader, and the coat rule and the tie rule, let's do it, are relaxed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 236.
Senate Bill 236 by Senators Garcia and Fenberg, also Representatives Hansen and Becker, concerning the continuation of the Public Utilities Commission in connection with implementing the recommendations contained in the 2018 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies and making an appropriation.
Representative Hansen.
Thank you. I move Senate Bill 236 and the Appropriations Committee report.
Just to be clear for everyone in the committee, you are moving not just the original one, but the Appropriations Committee report dated May 2nd of 2019? Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, absolutely.
To the Appropriations Committee report, the second Appropriations Committee report of May 2nd. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, most of you were here in the room to witness it. We added the J amendment to make sure we were covering the costs associated with the amended bill, and I ask for your support.
Any further discussions on the Appropriations Committee report? Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And wanted to inquire of the sponsors the issue that was brought up with regards to the municipalities submitting a clean energy plan and just ensuring through a Second Amendment reading that their authority is clear and there is no inadvertent confusion on PUC potential authority to impact the clean energy plan that might get filed under 1261. So if the sponsors would be open to a Second Amendment reading second reading amendment, even all the coffee I have drank is not sufficient. That would be greatly appreciated and would ensure that there is no impact on the municipally owned utilities.
Thank you. Upon clarification, this has nothing to do with the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, but we are firmly in the four corners of the 10th Amendment, and that makes me happy to say. So here doing our 10th Amendment work, Representative Carver, I had a chance to talk with the Colorado Springs utility. I've had a chance to talk with various stakeholders to get several opinions on this. We have reread the language in the bill. Everything that's asked of the municipalities is all opt-in, and I'd be happy to show you in the bill where we found that. I think what is being requested is duplicative of that language, and I'd be happy to do a sidebar to show you where we look that up, but I don't think a second reading amendment would be needed in this case because of that citation.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm just going to read the language that makes it explicit. It says, any other electric public utility may opt into the full terms of this entire section upon notification to the commission. So it clearly spells out that it's an opt-in.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I have also been in pretty extensive contact with Colorado Springs utilities individuals. They believe that the second reading amendment is needed to clarify and make sure there is no inadvertent overlap with either through an MOU or some other aspect with the filing the clean energy plan under 1261. And so I am working on that and would prefer, don't know if I've shared the language with the sponsors of the bill, and are you willing to accept that amendment?
Members, I just want to clarify real quick. We are on the second Appropriations Committee report. So the report of the Appropriations Committee that just happened in the well right now. Is that question to that, or is that question to the bill when it's raised upon second reading? Representative Carver.
Apologize, Mr. Chair. This would be to the bill.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the second Appropriations Committee report from just a moment ago on May 2nd with respect to the bill? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The second Appropriations Committee report of May 2nd is adopted. Now we are to the bill, and anyone who would like to discuss it. Representative Hansen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and we're having a quick conversation about the proposed amendment, see if we can find a path forward on that. But I think this brings us back to the full bill, and I look forward to questions and debate. We've covered a lot of ground already on this today, but welcome the ongoing discussion.
Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for the bill sponsor. So I was on 1037, and the main reason I was on that bill was because of the language we were putting into that bill, specifically to protect jobs of workers at coal plants that may be retiring. That bill then got amended into 1313, and one of the main reasons I had a lot of uncomfort with 1313, but one of the main reasons I eventually got to a yes was because of the language to protect workers that existed then in 1313. And now the PUC sunset bill which in my mind, I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around how the PUC functionality bill to continue this quasi-governmental agency fits in with 1313. But now that you've put 1313 into this bill, I just need to know where the protections for workers is that I have been trying to move forward this legislative session is in this bill now.
Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think it's a very appropriate question. I mean, it's something we have tried to keep at the forefront of our minds through the discussion on all three of these pieces of legislation. And I know if you remember back to the debate on 1037, we had some very specific language in 1037 talking about when the bonding tool gets used, there would be an automatic amount of money that would be set aside to help workers and communities. And we then had an amendment to that as we approached 1313 that specified that those funds could be used, but the PUC would handle the calculation and the hearing from the interested parties or the affected parties and come up with a package. And that is what we're now considering in Senate Bill 236. The reason we think this is so appropriate for the PUC sunset bill is that because everything we're doing here is giving specific tasks and responsibilities to the PUC, and one of them that we are now explicitly asking them to consider when they look at clean energy plans and transition plans is what is going to happen with the workforce. So in 1313, we contemplated workforce planning that would have to be submitted by the utility. That is a new thing that the state of Colorado has never done before, and a huge step forward for protecting workers and protecting communities. The second new thing that we're doing is creating an explicit revenue stream to help to take care of that need. Now, it's subject to PUC review, it's subject to PUC approval, but we now have both of those things in place. So when the utility says, we're going to make a change, we're going to implement this plan, they have to explicitly deal with the workforce transition issues. It's never happened before in the history of the state. It was always something that was optional, something that sometimes happened, sometimes didn't. Now we're making it a responsibility of the PUC. And on top of that, we're giving them tools to actually be able to handle the need. Again, that has never happened before. We haven't had that explicit tie between a plan and then resources to implement that plan. And that's why I think this combined bill is such a big step forward for the PUC and a big step forward for workers.
Representative Isgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Rep. Hansen, thank you for helping me understand how that all fits together. I just want to be clear in my understanding then. A PUC commissioner has the authority to look at a plan and make sure there is a component in that plan to take care of the workers and make sure that that is done in a fair way, not necessarily always on the ratepayers' backs.
Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative Escar, that is absolutely spot on. So the PUC now has the authority to order that to happen. And again, that is a very new thing. The utility has to submit a workforce plan, the PUC has to review it, and then figure out a plan that they can approve. And so the PUC commissioners have new tools at their disposal. And to the second part of your question about who is going to be paying for that, that is something the PUC is going to review. And you'll notice in one of the amendments that we put on earlier today, we tried to create some additional language around this very issue to make sure that everyone is clear that the utilities cannot rate base any resources that have to or that will go to help with the workers. So there is a clear protection for the customers here, so that there isn't some expansion of the rate base and therefore the things that the utility earns a rate of return on. And we give the tools to the PUC to make sure there are adequate resources. Now, those could be recovered in a variety of ways. Some of it could come from the utility itself. Some of it could come from rate adjustment clauses. Those are options the PUC will then have to evaluate and look at. But we've given them this new set of tools, which is one of the reasons we thought it was so appropriate to put it into this bill.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 236? Being really clear about this, is there any further discussion? We are to the bill. Representative Sandridge. No, we passed the Appropriations Committee report.
You don't need the amendment?
Representative Sandridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to serve with you.
Honor served with you, sir.
That's all I had to say. Have a good night.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 236? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 236. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. Senate Bill 236 is adopted. Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
Mr. Randall, please read the, oh, I'm sorry, the House should be, the House will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, the Committee of the Whole begs leave report it has had under its consideration following the test supposed to be saying the recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 236 is amended as passed on second reading or revised have been placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Gray. You have heard the motion. Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Wilson, Humphrey, Catlin. Is Humphrey around? Representative Humphrey. Representative Neville, can I excuse Representative Humphrey? Okay, Representative Humphrey is excused. With 41 aye votes, 22 no votes, and 2 excused. Oh, please close the machine. The report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Brief recess.
Okay, the House will be in a brief recess.
Amen.
House will come back to order. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, thanks for all your hard work, and I truly mean that. We are going to stay in recess, but we won't be doing any more work tonight. So you guys can all go home and get some rest. And if the Senate sends us stuff, we will just get it prepared to work on it tomorrow. So with that, Madam Speaker, I move that the House stand in recess. Until
Seeing
later.
no objection, the House will be in recess till later today.